I'm Kevan Hayden. I'm one of the res instructors here in Abel Hall.
Do you see any advantages to if they were to go to a wet campus?
I mean, I was trying to think about that. Like, I don't know if there would be a huge increase in advantages. I think maybe some folks who are over 21 might want to stay on campus. It might help improve, like the number of folks wanting to return and live on. I don't think it would be that great because I think we see a lot of people leave from their freshman year. They move off campus when they become sophomores, so they're not being 21 yet anyway. So I find it hard to believe they would then turn 21 and then come back.
Yeah. What sort of problems do you think would arise as a housing director if they were to?
I think oftentimes we see folks not use alcohol responsibly, and so I think that there would be an increase in people having drinking so much to a point where they would be doing stupid things or causing disturbances or having medical type issues. And at the same time, I think there would be more difficult for the staff to sort of sort out, all right, okay, you can have alcohol, you can't have alcohol. I think that would kind of be a transition in trying to figure that out. But I think people drink responsibly now, even when they're not allowed. People drink unresponsibly when they're not allowed. So I think it would just maybe highlight some of that a little bit more.
How often do drinking violations occur in Abel Sandoz?
It's kind of hard to say. Like there's weeks where we have several, and sometimes there's a big difference between when there's one person in a room or 10 people in a room. That kind of changes it. So I don't know if I would say it even happens every week. It kind of sometimes when it rains it pours.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard to put a number on it. We have a fair amount for the amount of people that we have living here.
If kids are drinking responsibly and you catch them, do you take it easier on them, or is it not really make a difference?
I think it's easier in terms of the conversation that I have with them. I think no matter what, they're breaking the state law in Nebraska, they're breaking their housing contract and the student code of conduct. So I still have to hold them responsible. But if someone is, if they're being quiet, having a beer, whatever, and whatever the circumstance comes up, they get caught. Our conversation might be a little more and might say, okay, I understand what was happening. Whereas someone who was passed out in their own vomit, naked in the hallway, that's a much different. Like, all right, tell me about what's going on, and that's a difference. So they're still held to the same standard, I guess. They're still get in trouble and get sanctions for violating the alcohol policy, but the conversation I think gets different.
What's the worst thing that's ever occurred because of drinking in the dorms, or that you've had to deal with personally?
Not here in Abel Sandoz. When I was an RA, I had a student, she was at a bar and, drank too much and was sexually assaulted. That's probably the worst thing I've dealt with ever as a staff member. I think a lot of things where people have medical issues, where they have drank so much that they need medical attention, or they've, started to choke on their own vomit, those kind of things. I think you see enough of that, and I've had a few folks. I met with one student who was driving drunk, got into a really serious car accident. I mean, he was really beat up sitting here. So I think those are probably the worst things.
Yeah. Do you think those would? I guess you already said earlier, like you don't think that those would really increase or decrease. That just kind of.
Yeah, I think it could go so many different ways. If people decided to live on campus and you could drink alcohol, maybe drunk driving would go down a little bit in town, as people aren't having to try and come back to their house because they're drinking off campus.
Yeah.
But at the same time, more alcohol on campus might mean more incidents on campus. So I think they would, on the whole of all the different things, it would balance out. It might just look different in this place, and it might impact small areas differently, but it'd probably be about the same.